Steam coiled from the teacup like a serpent in prayer. General Alara Miles sat cross-legged on a faded red cushion, her fingers wrapped gently around the porcelain, the chipped rims speaking of age and peace and things that survived too many endings. Outside her quarters aboard the Veritas station, a diplomatic neutral zone orbiting the blue-ashen planet Olter, starships came and went with a quiet grace of drifting ghosts. But here in her sanctuary, the world smelled of chamomile, metal polish, and the occasional burnt toast from her AI's hopeless experiments. A soft knock echoed through the chamber door. Later, Ilara murmured to the air, her voice like velvet laced with warning. She blew gently on the tea, savoring its warmth. The room remained silent except for the gentle hum of life support and the station's ancient vents exhaling through the ducts like a tired old man. The knock came again. "All right," she sighed, placing the cup on a coiled stack of books, mostly philosophy, some trashy romance, and one with a pink cover that boldly stated 101 ways to politely threaten without saying you did it. The door hissed open, revealing diplomatic attaché Krellick, a 10-foot beetle-faced bureaucrat from the Voran Empire with too many mandibles and not nearly enough patience. "Alara Miles, the Galactic Emperor has issued a decree. You are to surrender your station, your authority, and yourself immediately. If not..." His voice crackled like a radio dying in molasses. She waited. Krellick blinked, confused by the silence. "If not, his elite assassins will come for you." "Oh." She tilted her head. "Is that all?" The beetle bristled. "You seem unbothered." "I'm deeply insulted," she said with a yawn. "Only assassins? Not diplomats? Not a fruit basket?" The attaché's compound eyes clicked. "Are you mocking?" "Yes." She rose smoothly, pushing a strand of graying auburn hair behind her ear. She moved like a ghost that had learned patience. Every step was measured, casual, terrifying in its restraint. "I'll take it under advisement, Krellick. Would you like some tea before you report back?" He backed away, mandibles clacking. "You earthlings are elusive, irritating, unpredictable." She smiled. "Dangerous. Only when we've brewed something strong." The door hissed shut. She stood alone again. Alone except for the AI. "Chai or chamomile, ma'am?" The AI chirped through the walls in a tone stolen from an old Southern grandmother. "Chamomile. This isn't a murdery mood." Yet, the AI purred approval. She walked to the center of the room where the carpet was already half pulled up, revealing titanium plating. With one foot, she slid aside a panel and reached in. From the hidden compartment, she pulled out an old earth duffel bag, a relic of the pre-diplomacy wars, and laid its contents on the floor like sacred offerings. A folded, matte black blade, 2 EMP grenades wrapped in linen, and a tiny silver box no bigger than a matchbook. Alara tapped the box once. It blinked blue. "All right, boys," she whispered. "Let's set the table." Elsewhere, the Emperor of Zarak 10 stared into the hologram of Alara's profile. Her expression was neutral, almost bored, hair tied into a loose bun, chin slightly raised like someone about to deliver either a lullaby or a eulogy. "She is not impressive," the Emperor muttered. "She is human," his war minister hissed, as if the word stank. "Then we will make an example. Send the triad. Send all three." "Yes, your burning grace." He leaned forward as the transmission of his order spread across light years like a curse being whispered. Back on the station, Ilara sipped her tea. The lights dimmed. Not a technical issue. Not a malfunction. A courtesy. She smiled. The assassins were coming. "Darlin'," the AI said softly. "You sure you don't want to call Earth Command? They'd only ask me not to stain the carpet again. Would you like me to unlock the emergency guns?" "No," she said, standing. "Let's keep this personal." It began with a gust of cold air and a screech like space itself being wounded. The chamber door didn't open. It simply disappeared. Melted inward like candle wax under a magnifying lens. She didn't flinch. The first assassin stepped through, an Ozaran skinwalker, amphibious and silent, flickering in and out of color like it couldn't decide whether to be seen. Its claws hissed. Its eyes pulsed with sentient rage. Behind it, a twin-bodied drone slithered in on spider-like limbs, its twin heads muttering codes to each other. The third, last, was a floating sphere of light and agony, pulsing in the shape of thought. A mind wraith from the Meth Collective. They closed in. Alara rolled her neck. "I put out cups," she said, gesturing to the small tea table. The skinwalker blinked. "Before you kill me," she continued, "I just thought manners, you know? Little civility in interspecies murder." None of them moved. So she did. One step. Another. She kicked the teacup. It shattered. A humming field erupted, electromagnetic pulse cascading like a tidal wave. The drone seized midair. Its head screamed, then fell silent. Sparks danced across its limbs. The skinwalker leapt. She met it with a pivoted knee, driving it sideways into the wall, then turned and drove the matte-black blade up beneath its ribcage. It hissed, gurgled, died. The wraith tried to flee. She threw the silver box. It stuck to the glowing orb like a magnet and exploded in silence, sucking the light inward until only a smear of ash and the scent of ozone remained. Alara stood still, breathing softly, not out of fatigue, but consideration. The AI said, "Well, that was messy. I'll clean up. What do I log this under?" Afternoon tea. 3 guests. Left unsatisfied. She stepped toward the melted door and dragged one of the bodies with her. Outside, the hallway flickered with red lights and protocol beeps. Security drones hovered, confused, silent. She looked up at the nearest surveillance camera. "Patch me through to the Vorin attaché," she said. A few seconds later, the beetle-faced blinked onto the monitor, clearly not expecting the call. "Alara, your emperor sent assassins to a diplomatic station," she said, calm as dusk. "I killed them. I'm sending their remains to his personal dock." "You wouldn't." "I would," she smiled. "I just polished the blade." She ended the call, dragged the second body to the lift, then returned for the last. Outside her window, the stars drifted unaware, cold and old and beautiful. She washed her hands in a copper basin, scrubbing under her nails like someone prepping for surgery. Then, with all 3 bodies in sacks by the lift, she sat down once more, poured tea, and sipped. The AI whispered, "Alara, you think this was it? Or just the beginning?" She exhaled softly, a slow, almost fond smile forming. "He sent assassins," she said, lifting the cup. "Next, he'll send war." And with that, she raised her cup toward the stars. "Then I'll be polite again, until I don't have to be." The throne of Zarek 10 was carved from a meteor that had destroyed 3 moons. It pulsed faintly with residual heat, a warning embedded in stone. The alien emperor lounged across its angular edges like a bored predator watching cattle graze. His claws tapped an uneven rhythm on the armrest. "3 assassins," he said, voice low and syrupy. "My best." "Yes, your grace." The war minister bowed, so low that his forehead scraped the obsidian floor. His skin, a chameleon-like shimmer, flickered between shame and fear. The emperor turned toward the floating, hollow display. Alara Miles appeared on screen, still calm, blood-smeared gloves neatly folded beside a teacup. Behind her, 3 black sacks lay like discarded coats. The way she looked into the surveillance lens wasn't hostile. It was disinterested, as if she were trying to decide what to cook next. "She didn't even break a sweat," the emperor murmured. The minister cleared his throat. She filed an official statement with the Galactic Council, stating her actions were defensive hospitality. The chamber fell silent. "Defensive hospitality," the emperor repeated. "She murders assassins, then sends me a note signed, 'Warm regards.'" The hologram shimmered. A 4th assassin appeared now, tall, obsidian armor, emerald eyes. "General Vec, young, arrogant, lethal. Permission to eliminate the human myself," Vec said, saluting with a sharp flourish. "No tricks. No games. Just death." The emperor smiled faintly. "You think she's playing? She's old, soft, polished. All war generals eventually turn into diplomats. Or monsters pretending to be," whispered a voice from the shadows. They turned toward the sound. Kral stepped forward, a thin, 6-limbed historian with scars running down his snout. Unlike the others, he wore no armor, carried no rank. Just a collar marked with old human bullet holes, framed in glass. "You're not military, Crow," Vec sneered. "Go polish the library." Crow bowed respectfully, but his eyes glowed with warning. "I study them. The humans. You mock what you don't understand. That woman once turned an entire fleet into dust using 3 satellites, a weather balloon, and an Elvis Presley broadcast. You think she's soft because she drinks tea. She drinks it because she knows exactly when the war starts and ends." The room buzzed. The Emperor leaned in. "What do you recommend?" "Leave her alone." "No," Vec interrupted. "We need to show strength. Let me kill her." Crow blinked slowly. "Then leave a note. For your next of kin." Back aboard Veritas Station, Ilara Miles watched the diplomatic feeds with faint amusement. The Emperor's response was predictable. Rage dressed in formality. Power flexed like muscle before a mirror. Her AI chirped. "Incoming message from Council Chair Varel." "Open it. Let's see how disappointed he is." The image of Chair Varel flickered into existence. Tall and reptilian, dressed in golden robes, with eyes like old starlight. "Ilara," he began. "Varel," she replied, sipping her tea. "You're here to scold me, I assume. You violated 6 interspecies treaties." "They violated my breakfast." He sighed, claws steepling. "You can't bait the Emperor." "I didn't bait him. I offered tea. He sent death. I returned it with the lid on." "You're playing with something ancient and violent." "So am I." She raised her cup. "I'm serious, Ilara. The Emperor has authorized General Vec." She paused. Vec. The name dropped like lead in her chest. He was famous for one thing: speed. No drama. No speech. Just the end. "Do they know I'm not interested in legacy?" she asked softly. "Maybe they think you're bluffing." "They always do. Right up until they aren't breathing." Chair Varel looked tired. "Don't escalate." "I'm not escalating. I'm waiting." He cut the transmission. Outside, 1,000 ships watched from orbit. Galactic diplomats waited for another scandal. Merchants whispered. Reporters polished headlines. Inside the warship Tempest Fong, General Vec prepared. His armor gleamed like polished obsidian. In one hand, he held a blade forged from a collapsed star. In the other, a photo of Ilara Miles clipped from a news archive, her in civilian clothes, smiling. He crumpled it. "She's nothing," he muttered. "You shouldn't underestimate her," his second-in-command whispered. "I don't. I just know humans break like anyone else." The ship launched. Back on Veritas, Ilara moved through the empty corridors with casual grace. The station's diplomatic staff had evacuated. A polite way of saying ran screaming when the second assassin had hit the floor. Now the halls were quiet. Lights dimmed. Surveillance bots deactivated. She liked it this way. Empty places made good stages. Her boots echoed softly on steel grates as she entered the control chamber, where her AI, nestled inside a ceiling conduit, greeted her with a flicker of green light. "Ma'am, he's coming." "How fast?" "Hyperspeed. Expected arrival, 20 minutes. He brought a fleet." "Of course he did," she whispered. "What's a murder without an audience?" She sat before the console, fingers brushing against old Earth tech. A manual override wheel from a grounded battleship. Buttons scavenged from forgotten bunkers. She closed her eyes and breathed. Then she began to sing, low and slow. "Oh, bury me, not on the lone prairie." The AI hummed along, its voice a vibrating metal twang. Outside, the stars shifted. Vec arrived. The Tempest Fong did not dock. It pierced atmosphere like a sword through silk, stopping just short of the hull. Then a single figure leapt out. No pod, no shield. Just armor, body, blade. Vec landed with a thud that cracked the platform. He walked forward. No speech. No diplomacy. Ilara stood in the hallway, waiting. They locked eyes. No words. Then he charged. The fight was not a battle. It was a dance. Brutal, silent, close. He slashed. She ducked. He spun. She caught his ankle. He struck with the hilt. She drove her elbow into his throat. Metal hit flesh. Sparks flew. Walls dented. Lights flickered. Then, in one motion, she trapped his blade with her boot, twisted his arm backward, and leaned in close. "You came fast," she whispered. "You'll leave slower." With a breath, she slammed his helmet against the wall. Again, and again, until the alloy cracked and his body slumped. He wasn't dead, but he was done. She dragged him, armor scraping like chalk on bone, and left him outside the diplomatic chamber. Then she placed a small card on his chest. Not a threat, not a warning, a recipe for tea. Later, the Emperor watched the footage. He stared at the feed as Alara knelt beside Vex's body, checked his pulse, straightened his limbs, and whispered something into his unconscious ear. "What did she say?" he demanded. No one knew, but the message came in moments later. A package. Vex's weapon returned, polished. And the note: "Don't send boys to do a monster's job." The Emperor rose slowly from the throne. "No more games," he said. "Shall I prepare the fleet?" asked the war minister. "No. I'll deal with her myself." The shadows deepened. Kral, still watching, closed his eyes and whispered to no one. She offered tea. He turned. They drank blood. The broadcast began as a whisper, a leaked signal laced through the galactic comm grid, hidden beneath layers of political noise and diplomatic static. 50 operatives. 0 prisoners. 1 objective. It was titled Operation Clemency. Alara Miles tilted her head as the briefing played on the wall of her dim-lit command chamber. Half-eaten toast on one side of the console, a cracked mug of tea on the other. Her AI flickered silently above her, green light pulsing like a heartbeat slowed. The faces on screen were stone-cut killers. Not diplomats. Not soldiers. Ghosts. A Varkal Boneblade duelist, known for carving sigils into his enemy's skulls. A three-eyed Serenian sniper whose weapon tracked thought before motion. A shapeshifter from the Krell colonies. And 47 others, hybrids, hivekin, clone tacticians, living algorithms wrapped in flesh. 50 beings trained in the darkest edges of the galaxy. The best the Emperor had. Alara stirred her tea. "They brought their entire deck," she said softly. "You're the card they don't understand," her AI replied, voice like a gentle southern ant. "Good." Outside Veritas Station, the warships didn't hide. They formed a ring around her, spiked hulls glinting like the teeth of a trap tightening. Civilians had already fled. The Council had washed its hands. Earth Command had issued a single directive: do not initiate war. So she wouldn't. She'd just finish it. She stood slowly, stretching her limbs. The station's lights flickered, not in fear, but readiness. She'd spent the last week wiring the place like an orchestra hall, booby traps wired through old ventilation shafts, oxygen vents reprogrammed with sleeping gas, decoy corridors that looped infinitely. Even the T-machine had a kill switch. War wasn't always about bullets. Sometimes it was about what waited at the end of a hallway. The first operative breached at 0900 Standard Time. He came in low, cloaked, silent, hovering across the floor like a mist. She let him find her. The corridor was narrow, cold, and empty, except for the sound of her boots, calm as a grandmother walking to the porch. He drew a blade that hissed. She smiled, and then, with a flick of her hand, dropped a coin. It clinked. Metal plates exploded from the floor. The operative vanished into the shaft, caught in magnetic pull. Screams followed, then nothing. One down. By 0935, 7 more had entered. They found blood. They found silence. They found a human lullaby humming through the vents. By 0957, 10 were down. 3 were hallucinating after consuming emergency rations she'd left behind, rigged with synthesized earth spices that caused auditory illusions in non-human neural pathways. They'd reported hearing their mothers call their names. By 1002, one accidentally shot his teammate during a vision of a burning childhood home. By 1010, half the force was inside. The others were losing confidence. On the bridge of the flagship Scarlin's Fist, the Command Council watched in growing panic. Each operative's heart rate, oxygen levels, comms, all blinking red. "She's not fighting them," one whispered. "She's unraveling them." "She's not in the system," said another. "She is the system now." Inside the station, Ilara stepped softly through a maintenance duct, crouched low. Sweat clung to her brow. Blood marked her left sleeve, not hers. She moved like wind channeled through a blade. One of the assassins found her. A Trellic brute, armored, 8 feet tall, scent tracking. He didn't announce himself. She didn't hesitate. A spray of CO2 from the floor blinded him. She dropped low, swept his legs, used her blade like punctuation. Sharp, fast, merciless. He hit the ground, throat slashed, feet still twitching. She checked her watch. Outside, the Emperor leaned forward, claws tense. "What's the count?" he barked. 37 down. 16 remaining. "Has she been wounded?" "No, Your Grace." "Send the last wave." "All of them." "Yes, Your Grace." Back inside, the station darkened. Lights gone. Air thinned. Ilara walked alone through the archives, an old diplomatic wing lined with artifacts from hundreds of cultures. Flags. Statues. Quotes carved in languages no one spoke anymore. She stopped beside a worn engraving. "Peace is the pause between strategies." She brushed her fingers over the words, then moved on. By 11:02, the station was a graveyard. One of the last surviving assassins, a young Tan, hid inside a supply crate, hyperventilating. He had trained against every species, fought wars on dead moons. But this wasn't war. It was a quiet unraveling. He heard a sound. Click. He looked down. A cup of tea. Still steaming. No explosion. No gas. Just warmth. Offered. Then, a whisper in the dark. "You can go home now." He left running. Back aboard the Emperor's throne room, the silence was so loud it hurt. The feed displayed only one camera now. Ilara sitting in the central chamber, a pile of bodies at her feet. Some burned. Some sliced. Some left untouched, just stopped. Lights flickered. Her face was calm. She looked into the camera. Raised a cup. 50, she said. She placed a single note on the body nearest her. A small, handwritten message, unmistakably earth-styled. It read, "Don't send wolves to outthink the farmer." The Emperor crushed the railing with his claw. She sends notes. She makes jokes. She doesn't even run. Crow, standing quietly nearby, murmured, "That is what makes her dangerous." "She's one person," the Emperor roared. "She's Earth," Crow replied. The surviving assassin, the Tan, returned hours later, still trembling. The others never did. And the galaxy watched. Footage leaked across systems. The woman who outwitted 50 elites without ever raising an army. The woman who drank tea in a room filled with death. The human who didn't declare war, but buried its weapons like seeds in soil and waited. Civilizations whispered her name like an omen. Some mocked. Some praised. A few began packing their belongings and fleeing border systems. And then the Emperor received a second message. No visuals, just audio. Ilara's voice. Calm. Low. Icy. "Your Grace," she began. "You sent ghosts to silence a gardener. But I don't plant flowers." There was a long pause. Then the sound of a match lighting. "I plant revolutions." The stars above Earth began to disappear. Not because of nightfall, but because of ships. From every quadrant of Zarek 10's empire, dreadnoughts assembled like vultures over a fresh carcass. Their hulls shimmered black and violet, massive engines humming with ancient war chants, each ship marked with a burning sigil of the Emperor himself, a spiral sun devouring smaller stars. At the center of the formation loomed the Wrath of Eons, the Emperor's flagship, its weapons capable of reducing continents to ash in seconds. He had not sent this ship to intimidate. He had come aboard it, in person. No more games, no more notes, no more clever Earth metaphors. He would end her. Inside the Wrath, the Emperor stood before a screen, jaw set, eyes narrowed. "Where is she?" "Still aboard Veritas Station, Your Grace. She's refused all calls, all hails, all orders to surrender. She's daring me to strike first," he muttered. "She's made the entire galaxy her theater," whispered Crow behind him. "And now she's drawn the curtain." The Emperor turned. "You think this is a show?" "I think," Kral said, voice soft as snow. You're already part of the script. Far below, aboard the nearly abandoned diplomatic station, drifting in the glow of a dying red sun, Ilara Miles stirred sugar into her tea. She did it slowly, deliberately, as if there wasn't an entire galactic war fleet locked on her coordinates. The table before her was set for 3. Her uniform was clean, her gloves white, her posture relaxed, and her eyes, those human eyes, were calm in a way that made empires tremble. Her AI spoke gently from the ceiling. The Emperor's ship is within range. Full fleet scan confirms 1,022 warcraft, 17 planetary annihilators, 3 quantum destabilizers, and an entire diplomatic broadcast crew waiting for the fireworks. Ilara took a sip. He's brought a camera crew. That's sweet. Should I alert Earth Command? She paused. No, not yet. He needs to believe I'm alone. You are alone, technically. Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. That's what makes it fun. The door to the chamber slid open. No guard stood beyond it. No barriers. Just Ilara, her tea, and the quiet breath of anticipation that always came before something unforgettable. A hologram blinked into place. The Emperor stood tall in his war robes, every gold-threaded fold meant to intimidate. Behind him, flames flickered, perhaps real, perhaps symbolic. Ilara Miles, he said, you've insulted me. You've humiliated my assassins. You've cost me credibility in the eyes of this galaxy. She raised her cup. That must sting. You think this is funny? I think you lack a sense of humor, Your Grace. Possibly due to ego compression. His eyes flared. I offer you this one chance. Kneel. Surrender. Or I will strike, and your station will be remembered only as dust in a long-forgotten orbit. Ilara set her cup down gently and smiled. You're already late to your own funeral. He didn't answer. He ended the feed. The countdown began. 10 minutes to full barrage. She stood and walked slowly toward the center console of the station. Her fingers danced across old, outdated panels, buttons installed back when diplomacy still had a heartbeat. Time to serve, she said softly. The AI blinked once. Operation Tea Party? Activate. The station hummed. Old lights came to life. Not red, not white, but earth yellow, warm, flickering, soft like a candle in a hurricane. Deep beneath the floor, dormant satellites powered up. A pulse shot through subspace, subtle and quiet. And across the galaxy, they answered. On the moon of Delphi 9, an abandoned mining rig flickered on. In the mist clouds of Deneb Station, a shipping barge changed course. On the edge of the neutral colonies, 3 derelict listening posts began to rotate slowly, their transmitters blinking with codes no alien language could decipher. All Earth tech, all forgotten, all armed. The Emperor's fleet did not know it yet, but they were already surrounded. Back aboard the Wrath of Eons, Kral's console beeped. Interference, he said. Unidentified pulses across 12 quadrants. I recommend. You've recommended enough, the Emperor snapped. The fleet's targeting systems began to misalign. Coordinates flickered. Weapon locks failed. Anomalies stacked. Inside Veritas Station, Ilara's voice echoed through every emergency channel on the alien warcraft. She didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She simply spoke. Dear honored guests of the Empire, this is General Ilara Miles, Earth's diplomatic representative and hostess of today's event. I hope you enjoyed the tea. Please do remain seated. One by one, her voice cut through their encrypted comms like a lullaby. Operation Tea Party has 3 rules. 1. You brought the fire. 2. I brought the match. And 3. I never play fair. On the Emperor's flagship, chaos bloomed. Weapons turned inward. Navigation rerouted. Ships spun slowly out of formation. AI guidance systems rewrote themselves, obeying Earth protocols long embedded in their neural code from past trade agreements. Explain this, the Emperor roared. Kral stepped forward, calm. She's not fighting your fleet, Your Grace. She's wearing it. Aboard the smaller ships, terrified engineers screamed as screens turned black. Then white. Then a single image. A cup of tea. Steam rising. Followed by coordinates. Their home planets. Their families. A simple message blinked beneath the image. Don't. Dozens powered down. Others fled. The Emperor watched as 1/3 of his armada disengaged without firing a shot. Some left. Some drifted. Some self-destructed. His face hardened. I will not be beaten by a gardener in a tea dress. She's not a gardener, Krell said. He turned. She's the storm the flowers bloom after. Elara, still aboard Veritas, stepped toward the outer airlock. She looked out the viewport and watched the remaining fleet adjust, pull back, falter. A single ship advanced, the Wrath of Eons, and with it the Emperor. The feed reconnected. He stood alone now, no court, no council. His voice was cold steel. You win nothing, he said. I will land. I will kill you myself. She looked tired now. Not weak, but worn, like someone who had carried too much history in her bones. I didn't come to win, she whispered. Then what did you come for? To remind you. She leaned closer to the lens. The galaxy forgot who we are. So I served tea and reminded it. He didn't reply. The transmission ended. Then, through the broken comms of every drifting ship, Elara's final message echoed. You sent assassins. You sent armies. You sent fear. She pressed a button beneath her sleeve. Across the sky, satellites realigned. And we sent silence. A second passed. Then a flash, not an explosion, but a signal. EMP pulses, perfectly timed, scattered like fireflies in the dark. The Wrath of Eons lost power. Its shields fell. Its cannons dimmed. Its engines flickered. Elara exhaled slowly. Then, for the first time, she walked toward the docking bay. Not with a weapon. Not an armor. Just gloves. And a pot of tea. The Wrath landed heavily on the upper deck, smoke curling from vents. Its doors hissed open, and the Emperor stepped forward, no longer regal, just tall, furious, and bare-fanged. He stopped when he saw her. One table, one chair, one cup. She motioned toward it. Would you like tea before you die? The Emperor snarled. You think you can kill me? No, she said. I think you'll kill yourself. He lunged. Fast. Brutal. She didn't move. He stopped mid-step. Around them, thousands of silent watchers, holograms, recordings, feeds, transmitted the moment. He realized, too late, what she had done. His rage had been bait. His invasion documented. His genocide plan archived and ready for tribunal. She had not fought a war. She had built a case. He was now a war criminal on every council channel in the galaxy. And she was still sipping tea. He fell to his knees. Not from injury, from truth. You trapped me. No, she said, pouring another cup. You brought your own rope. I just helped you tie the knot. The station's lights returned. Earth Command finally called. General Miles? She answered without looking up. Tea's hot. Status. She stared at the Emperor, broken and kneeling. Operation Tea Party is concluded.